In a bustling city, tucked away between the towering buildings and endless streets, there lived a stray dog named Rusty. Rusty had no name when he first appeared, no collar to signify that he had once been someone's pet, and no shelter to offer him comfort. He was a wanderer, just one of many strays trying to survive in the concrete jungle. His fur, once thick and soft, was now matted and dirty, and his eyes, once full of hope, were filled with wariness and distrust. For months, Rusty had lived on the streets, doing everything he could to survive. He scoured the alleyways for food scraps, dodged cars on busy streets, and found shelter wherever he could, whether it was under a cardboard box, in a dark corner of an abandoned building, or between dumpsters. It wasn't a life filled with comfort or love, but it was a life he had learned to accept. Rusty wasn't the only dog living on the streets, but he had learned to keep his distance from the others. The streets were a place of competition, and there was no room for trust. Every dog for himself, and every human was just another potential threat. Rusty's days were lonely. He spent his time running from the noise, the danger, and the chaos of the city, trying to find some semblance of peace. He had grown accustomed to the isolation, but deep down he longed for something more. He longed for companionship, for kindness, for someone to show him that he wasn't just another forgotten soul lost in the crowd. But with every passing day, that hope seemed to fade further and further into the distance. One chilly evening, as Rusty roamed the streets looking for food, he heard a cry. It wasn't the usual sound of traffic or the distant chatter of people. This was a voice, weak, desperate, and calling for help. Rusty froze. The voice was coming from an alleyway just ahead, a place he had passed many times before but never paid much attention to. Curiosity got the better of him, and he slowly padded toward the sound. As he turned the corner into the alley, Rusty's eyes widened in disbelief. There, lying on the ground, was a young woman, unconscious and bloodied. She had collapsed in the alley, her body bruised and battered as if she had been attacked. Her clothing was torn and her face was pale. The woman was barely breathing, her chest rising and falling slowly, almost imperceptibly. Rusty's heart raced, unsure of what to do. He had never been in a situation like this before, and he had no idea how to help. But instinct kicked in. Rusty knew that he couldn't just walk away. For all his struggles on the streets, there was something deep inside him that told him this woman needed help, and he had to be the one to get it. His eyes scanned the surroundings. There were no people nearby, and the street was eerily quiet. Without a second thought, Rusty rushed forward, nuzzling the woman's hand gently, hoping to rouse her. He nudged her again, harder this time, but she didn't stir. Rusty wasn't about to give up. He had seen humans before. He had learned to keep his distance from them, but there was something about this woman that made him want to help. He stood on his hind legs and began to bark loudly, the sound echoing through the empty alley. Rusty barked again and again, his cries growing louder with desperation. He had no idea how to get help, but he knew he had to try. The sound of barking soon caught the attention of a passerby, a young man named Jake, who happened to be walking home after work. He had heard the commotion in the alley and, curious about the noise, decided to investigate. As he approached, he saw Rusty, still barking furiously, and the woman lying unconscious on the ground. Jake's heart skipped a beat. Without hesitation, he rushed to the woman's side, checking her pulse and breathing. He immediately recognized the signs of an assault. Panicking, he grabbed his phone and dialed emergency services, describing the situation in a rushed voice. "I found a woman. She's been attacked. I think she's unconscious. Someone needs to help her," he shouted into the phone. While waiting for the ambulance to arrive, Jake stayed by the woman's side, trying to keep her conscious. Rusty, who had been barking relentlessly, now stood close by, watching with intense focus. It was as if he understood the gravity of the situation, as if he knew that this woman's life was in danger. Every time the woman made a sound or twitched, Rusty's ears perked up, and he was right there, watching, guarding her. When the ambulance finally arrived, the paramedics quickly took control of the scene. They rushed the woman to the hospital, with Jake following closely behind. Rusty, still standing in the alley, watched them go. He was left alone in the dark, his mind racing with thoughts he couldn't fully understand. He had done everything he could to help, but now he was uncertain about what would happen next. Days passed, and the woman, whose name was Emily, slowly began to recover in the hospital. The doctors said she had been lucky. She had sustained several injuries, including a broken arm and bruising, but nothing life-threatening. It was a miracle she had survived, and much of the credit went to the stray dog who had found her in the alley and called for help. Emily, when she regained consciousness, was shocked to hear the story of how a dog had saved her life. She had no memory of what had happened before she collapsed, but she couldn't believe that a stray dog, a creature she had never met, had acted with such intelligence and compassion. She had always been a dog lover, but she had never imagined a dog would become her savior. As soon as she was well enough to leave the hospital, Emily felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude toward the dog who had helped her. She couldn't shake the image of Rusty standing in the alley, barking his heart out to get her the help she needed. She wanted to meet him, to thank him, and to find out how she could repay him for what he had done. Emily contacted animal shelters and rescue organizations, trying to find the stray dog who had become her hero. It didn't take long for the story to spread, and soon Rusty's face was everywhere. People were calling him a hero, and the city had rallied around the incredible tale of the dog who had saved a life. It wasn't long before Emily was able to locate Rusty, who was still roaming the streets, still living as a stray, but now with a growing reputation. When Emily finally found Rusty, she knew that she couldn't let him go back to the streets. She had already been given a second chance at life, and she couldn't bear to see him continue to struggle in the harsh world he had known for so long. With the help of a local animal shelter, Emily arranged to have Rusty brought to her home, where he would no longer have to roam alone. She adopted him, offering him a safe, loving place to call his own. Rusty's life had changed overnight. From being a stray dog struggling to survive on the streets, he became the beloved companion of the woman he had saved. Emily, forever grateful, showered Rusty with love and care. Their bond grew stronger every day, and Rusty, who had once trusted no one, found in Emily the family he had always longed for. But Rusty's story didn't end there. As the months passed, Emily continued to share the story of how Rusty had saved her life. She visited schools, animal shelters, and community centers, spreading the message of kindness, compassion, and the incredible bond between humans and animals. Rusty's story became an inspiration to people everywhere, showing that even in the darkest of times, help could come from the most unexpected places. One day, Emily and Rusty were invited to an event in the city to honor animal heroes. Rusty was awarded a special recognition for his bravery, and Emily, standing beside him, couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She had saved his life, yes, but in return Rusty had saved hers. It was a story of mutual rescue, a story of survival and hope, and a story that would be remembered for years to come. Rusty, the stray dog who had once lived alone on the streets, had found a family. And in return he had become a hero, proving that sometimes, the most extraordinary acts of kindness come from the most unexpected sources. In the heart of a bustling city, amidst the towering skyscrapers and the ceaseless hum of traffic, lived a stray dog named Champ. With his matted fur, sunken ribs, and wary eyes, he was a picture of neglect and despair. He roamed the streets, scavenging for scraps, always on the lookout for danger, his heart heavy with the weight of loneliness and abandonment. One cold winter night, Champ huddled under a discarded cardboard box, shivering uncontrollably. The wind howled and the rain lashed down, turning the streets into a treacherous maze of slippery puddles. As he drifted off to sleep, his body weak and his spirit broken, he wondered if he would ever find warmth, comfort, and a loving hand to guide him. The next morning, a young woman named Sarah was walking to work when she spotted Champ huddled under the box. Her heart went out to the forlorn creature, and she couldn't bear to leave him to the mercy of the elements. She approached him cautiously, offering him a piece of bread. Champ, wary at first, cautiously accepted the offering, his tail giving a tentative wag. Sarah, realizing that Champ was in need of help, decided to take him to the local animal shelter. There he was given a warm bath, a nutritious meal, and a soft bed to rest on. The shelter staff, experienced in dealing with stray animals, quickly assessed Champ's condition. He was malnourished, dehydrated, and had a few minor injuries, but overall he was healthy and strong. As the days turned into weeks, Champ began to blossom under the care of the shelter staff. His fur regained its shine, his ribs filled out, and the sparkle returned to his eyes. He was a gentle soul, eager to please, and he quickly became a favorite among the volunteers. One day, a young couple named Emily and Ben visited the shelter, looking for a furry companion to add to their family. They had recently lost their beloved dog, and their home felt empty without his playful presence. As they browsed through the kennels, their eyes fell upon Champ. There was something about Champ that drew them in. His quiet demeanor, his gentle eyes, and the way he tilted his head as if listening intently to their conversation. They felt an instant connection with him, a sense that he was meant to be part of their lives. After spending some time with Champ, Emily and Ben decided to adopt him. They took him home, where he was showered with love and affection. They named him Buddy, a name that seemed to suit his gentle and friendly nature. Buddy quickly settled into his new home. He loved to play fetch in the backyard, cuddle on the couch, and go for long walks with Emily and Ben. He became an integral part of their family, bringing joy and laughter back into their lives. One sunny afternoon, Emily and Ben decided to go for a hike in the nearby woods. They took Buddy along for the adventure, excited to explore the trails together. As they ventured deeper into the woods, they came across a group of hikers who were frantically searching for a missing child. The child, a young boy named Timmy, had wandered off from his family and was nowhere to be found. The hikers were growing increasingly worried, fearing the worst. Emily and Ben, remembering Buddy's keen sense of smell, decided to enlist his help. They showed Buddy a picture of Timmy and sent him off into the woods. Buddy, his nose to the ground, sniffed the air intently, his tail wagging with excitement. He followed the scent, weaving through the trees and bushes, his ears perked up, his eyes focused on the task at hand. After what seemed like an eternity, Buddy stopped, his tail thumping against the ground. He had found Timmy hiding behind a large oak tree, scared and alone. Buddy barked excitedly, alerting Emily and Ben to Timmy's location. They rushed towards the sound, their hearts filled with relief. Timmy, seeing his rescuers, ran towards them, tears streaming down his face. Thanks to Buddy's sharp senses and unwavering determination, Timmy was reunited with his family. The hikers were overjoyed, showering Buddy with praise and gratitude. Emily and Ben were filled with pride, knowing that their beloved dog had saved a life. Buddy's story spread like wildfire, capturing the hearts of people across the city. He was hailed as a hero, a testament to the unwavering loyalty and selfless love of dogs. His rescue from the streets had led to an extraordinary act of bravery, proving that even the most humble of creatures can possess extraordinary courage and compassion. Buddy's story served as a reminder that every life, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem, has the potential to make a difference. It was a tale of hope, redemption, and the enduring bond between humans and animals, a bond that transcends species and defies all odds.